Welcome in to Forge Master Metal Reviews. It's Ben and Brandon. We are talking about our favorite albums of the month.
Lamb of God, Omens, released October 7th. Ah, yes, the Kings of the Riff are back, and their live energy is better than ever on recording. With such a killer back catalog, it's hard to think of a band that would put out a bad record at this point. But what I absolutely love about Omens is that they finally did something that bands have a hard time doing nowadays, and that is capturing the live energy in the studio. How did they do this? Well, recorded in the same goddamn room. Bands need to do this more. That's a really cool idea, and it paid off. This album feels like Lamb of God are destroying your living room with you in it. Randy sounds vicious as hell on this record, even touting some cool cleaner and spoken word sections to break out those outstanding groove moments. I felt a little out of touch with Lamb of God for a long time, to be honest, but Omens is a really fine welcome back to a fan like me and like other people who may have fell out of touch. Omens is exceptional, easily one of the best records in their discography, if you ask me. One small gripe I do have, though, is the album can slump a little bit in the middle and feel a little bit predictable, but there's so many goddamn brilliant bangers on this record that it is a must listen. 4.5 out of 5, Raven Skeletons on Fire.
Great to see this one on here. Randy, it's all, they absolutely deserve it. For me to put a deathcore record on this list is definitely a credit to what Lorna Shore is doing. Easily one of the greater deathcore records of this year. This album is equal parts talent, disgust, and beauty. Unfortunately, the band kind of falls into the trap of already having released almost the entire album, so it doesn't feel new when we listen to all the songs. Brandon, you had told me that you would wish the Pain Remains trio had been its own EP, and dude, I totally agree. I think the pacing of this album is a bit off, and it doesn't really help that the music becomes a bit formulaic after a few tracks, solos and, layered synths and, that kind of thing. It's like, just kind of gets a little bit repetitive. Overall, however, I think that this is a strong record. Nice surprise from the Symphonic Deathcore camp. I think that they're doing cool things. 4.2 out of 5, knives at the jugular.
You totally nailed it, man. It's a great record, but I think they could have broken it up. I don't know if it was because Century Media required them to do such a long album with their contract or what, but a trio or a trilogy of the Pain Remains stuff as its own thing would have been...
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite records of the month. Aenaon, Mnemosyne, released October 7th. I love when more obscure bands of the month hit this list. Aenaon hail from Greece, and they're an absolutely stellar black metal band that not nearly enough of you are talking about. To my surprise, this Hellenic outfit has been around since 2011 and put out 4 albums, including Mnemosyne, which is simply a brilliant piece of work that came out this October. If you love bands like Thy Catafalque, White Ward, Psy, and to a smaller extent Imperial Triumphant, this band is not something to miss. Mnemosyne is a delightfully surprising recording with a ton of twists and turns, from blistering and black extreme metal to gorgeous choir chants that slam into amazing stringed and horn sections. There's some serious nods to 70s progressive rock like King Crimson. They're not afraid to get emotional with melody lines sitting perfectly alongside that evil blackened atmosphere. This album is easily one of the best black metal albums of the year. I have not been able to stop spinning it. 4.7 out of 5, morphing and agonizing figures.
This is completely new to me, man. I'm going to have to check this one out. Your description has more than intrigued me.
You will fist your ass when you listen to it.
Thank you, Brandon, for putting this one on my list. This is my first run with this band, and obviously I'm impressed. Ritual Violence is really a great blend of sludge and hardcore, dialing in the grit and grime of hardcore, infusing it with the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of sludge and doom. The atmosphere on this record really helps to hone in that chaotic, bleak nature that the album portrays. This music is like a bulldozer pushing a pile of rubble onto your open grave, dude. It's so cool. Give it a chance if you like that sludge hardcore fusion that a lot of bands are trying out right now. 4.3 out of 5, Sacrifices to the God of Pain.
Such a killer record. I'm glad it's on your list. Speaking of bulldozers, my next one is Ripped to Shreds, Jubian, released October 14th. A bunch of our buddies in the metal community have been saying some great things about Ripped to Shreds, so I thought I'd give it a spin. And wow, what a spectacularly written slab of old school death metal that is not only performed tight as hell, but the production is superb for what you want in an album like this. People who watch this channel know that I am a huge fanboy of Swedish buzzsaw guitar tones, similar to Entombed, Bloodbath, and Dismember. So when Ripped to Shreds started sawing my ears off from my head with those gorgeous buzzsaw tones, I was stoked. Big thing I noticed with Jubian is just how technical, progressive, and unexpected the song structures were. Being a Doom guy, I even loved their experiments into Death Doom territory at times. If I had to give a small knock to the record, though, I would say the vocals can be kind of monotonous at times with such varied intensity in the musical performance. But that did not hurt my massive enjoyment of this brilliant death metal record. 4.2 out of 5 sacrifices to monuments.
It's no surprise that I fell in love with this record when I first heard it. Spell absolutely blew our minds with their 2020 release, Opulent Decay, one of the best of that year. They were really dialing in their sound, and Tragic Magic, I think, is another great progressive trajectory in their discography. The album really displays more of an edgier version of the band. They play with chugging syncopation that you don't hear too often on their older stuff, punk-inspired riffs, all while maintaining that new wave of trad metal vibe and kind of dialing in some goth elements too in there. It's really awesome. If you liked Unto Others' strength, this album is perfectly paired with that. They're super complimentary of each other. Do not sleep on this one. Tragic Magic gets 4.6 out of 5 Black Mares.
I'm so glad Spell are getting the recognition that they deserve and the marketing that they deserve. It's great to see them on here. Doom fans rejoice, Mother of Graves, Where Shadows Adorn. 90s Death Doom is near and dear to our hearts. Catatonia, Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride, Anathema, all of them are just massive pieces of our early sad boy obsession. Mother of Graves' debut EP came out a couple of years ago and absolutely nailed that 90s Doom death vibe, so needless to say, we couldn't wait for the full length. Well, here we are with Where Shadows Adorn, and all I have to say is, wow, my sad boy heart could not be more sad boy-ear. It's fall here in New England, so I spend a lot of my time walking in the local cemeteries like a creep with my headphones or dead phones on with my basic bitch metal outfit and pumpkin spice latte. Don't judge. This album is a perfect Doom death album for this season, hitting all things melancholic, heavy with despair, and a fine dose of unbelievable production thanks to the brilliant Dan Swano. One thing I love about Mother of Graves is we finally have Doom bands that are unafraid to push the genre into melodic territory again and away from the bloated, fuzzed out stoner sound. I also love the atmosphere added from the gorgeous keyboard moments, some seriously haunting stuff at times, against the fantastically written melodic doom. This is an album that's not to miss in the Doom genre. Get on it for the fall especially. 4.8 out of 5. Shadows Screaming at the Heart of Despair.
Yeah, dude, this is one of our most anticipated melodic Doom records of this year. It's really awesome seeing some of the bands, like you said, just leaning more into that sad UK Swedish kind of fusion of just like crushing melancholy. Love it. Great pick, man.
Bring it back, baby. Speaking of bringing it back, Exhumed, To the Dead, 21 October. I love Exhumed so much. Their tongue-in-cheek take on death metal meets gore grind is almost comic book horror, and it works so unbelievably well. They're pioneers of gore metal, and while that's great, what does that mean for their 9th studio album, To the Dead? Well, let's find out. The first thing that's immediately apparent is the brilliant old school yet very modern production. The raw sound is intact, but there's a nice meaty low end to help give the music a serious sense of weight. To the Dead is almost a perfect celebration of everything that Exhumed has done well for their career. Every song flows beautifully or gore-drenchedly and cadaverously into the next with a sense of bloody and weighty viciousness that makes you want to keep going as the butcher lobs off limbs. I also love the variety in the riffs too, going from blistering grind speed to slow, swampy death metal. I can't believe I'm saying this, but as a longtime fan of Exhumed, I actually think To the Dead might be my favorite record in their discography. It's maddening, brutal, never losing its edge, and it's a fucking bloody blast to listen to. If you're new to Exhumed or a longtime fan, boy, is it a great time to spin this record for Halloween. Bring on the blood. 4.8 out of 5. Severed heads for dinner.
Another one that we could not wait to get our hands on, man. Exhumed has just always been one of those bands that we have connected with and just is just up the peak of what gore metal and death metal can and should be.
And what are you stoked about in October? Leave it down in the comments below.
As always, go with the gods, our forge mates. Bring out your dead.
See you next time.